All right, welcome to episode 36 of the Talking Friars podcast. I'm your host, Ben Fadden. No Jacob today, but just me coming to you after the Padres finished out their first or their last homestand, their last series of the first half of the season, if you want to call that. It's been over 90 games, but it's the ceremonial first half of the season as the All-Star game now happens in Denver, Colorado next week. The Futures game happened today. I'm recording here on Sunday after the series finale. Futures game happened today. The MLB draft is happening right now. Padres have not picked yet. They're at number 27. Very interesting things that have happened already. Jack Leiter went number 2. Henry Davis went number 1. The Louisville catcher to Pittsburgh. Kumar Rocker, who on a lot of mock drafts and stuff was right up there with Leiter as the top pitching prospect in this draft. He drops all the way to 10. So maybe there was an injury we don't know about, or uh, teams wanted to go with more upside, or I don't know what, because Kumar Rocker he was legit. What we saw at Vanderbilt, he was pitching in front of Jack Leiter on Friday nights. So that just, I don't know. Tim Corbin, the Vanderbilt head coach, was there. And he seemed kind of confused as to why he wasn't picked yet. But anyway, that's the MLB draft that's happening right now. Moving on back to the Padres here. They finish out the ceremonial first half of the season by losing a series to the Colorado Rockies. They split that 4-game series with the Nats. So not the homestand you wanted to end the first half of the year. The Rockies just seem like they're a team that steps up against the Padres. They have the Padres number or something because the offense didn't really show up in the series. Some things went wrong injury wise, which we'll get into. And it was just unfortunate that the Padres weren't able to get a series win, and now they're more than a handful of games back from the Giants in the first or for first place in the National League West. So let's start with the first game of this series on July 9th, on Friday night. Again, after splitting the 4 games against the Washington Nationals, they end up winning this game 4-2. Reese Kinnear was kind of the big story going into this game. He starts this game. It was his major league debut. He was being called up from Double A. And so it was definitely a good story. You wanted the kid to do well. And he did pretty well. You could tell that he might have been a little bit flustered early. He went 3 up. Let's see. He only faced 3 batters in the first inning, struck out the first batter, caught stealing for the final out of the inning. He got Blackman to fly out to center, but then in the second inning is where he got into trouble. He walked 3 guys in that inning. There was bases loaded for Elias Diaz, who he walked. So he walked in his first run in the major leagues. But to his credit, bases loaded, no outs, only that 1 run scored on that walk. He ended up getting Chris Owings down by strikes. Kyle Freeland flew out to left, and then he got Raimel Tapia, who he struck out in the first. He got Tapia to pop out to Jake Cronenworth at second base for the final out of the inning. So credit to him. He grinded through it, and he ends up only giving up that 1 earned run. So you liked what we saw there. At least I did. Now he was only coming up for a spot start. He was in Double A. He wasn't even in Triple A. So, he was sent down the day after. That was just a spot start because Blake Snell couldn't start the game. He was put on the IL, just sick. He just didn't feel well. So it was just a spot start again. And so, you weren't going in with many, very high expectations. But he pitched well. Miguel Diaz came in after him. Tim Hill came in the 7th. Austin Adams in the 8th. Mark Melancon got the save, his 27th of the year before the All-Star game. He came in the 9th. All 4 relievers in the pen, Diaz, Hill, Adams, Melancon. They did not give up a run, so credit to them. And yeah, that was a good job by the bullpen. As for the offense, they got their runs. Trent Grisham with an RBI single, and then Jake Cronenworth scores on a ground out to second. Manny scores on Will Myers's double in the gap. That was the go-ahead double. Manny drove in the fourth run of the game for a little bit of insurance for Melanson there in that ninth inning. So just a good overall win. Again, a rookie pitcher stepped up and he led his team to win. That's all Jace Tingler and Larry Rothschild wanted, right? They wanted Reese Kinnear to keep his team in the game and give him a few innings, and that's what happened. So props to him, props to the bullpen again, and a good 4-2 win. Padres improved to 53-38. That would be their last win before the All-Star break. They lose Saturday's game 3-0. This was the German Marquez game. If you've been listening to the podcast on either watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, I've been kind of harping on Marquez not deserving to be an all-star, and Joe Musgrove deserved to be over him, partly because his ERA was almost a run lower than German Marquez's ERA was. But Marquez did pitch like an all-star on Saturday night. Joe Musgrove was against him, and Joe Musgrove didn't pitch bad. Like, that's, if anyone tells you that Musgrove pitched bad, they didn't really watch the game. They just looked at the box score. Musgrove, 4 1/3 innings. Yes, he gives up 2 runs, but he battled through it. He grinded through this outing. There was a lot of long at bats. A 6-pitch at bat to Garrett Hampson in the first inning, 5-pitch at bat to Dom Nunez in the second inning when he struck him out. In the third, another really long at bat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a 10-pitch at bat to Raimel Tapia to lead, or the second batter of the inning. 6 pitches to Garrett Hampson right after that. So just really, really long outings. In the fourth inning, 8-pitch at bat to Josh Fuentes. He just grinded through it. This seemed like the Dodgers started on Sunday Night Baseball in April. He just had to grind through it. He wasn't terrible. He just literally, there was a lot of long at bats. And when there's long at bats, the pitch count goes up, and you're going to see yourself tired early, and you're going to see yourself going out of games earlier than you wanted to. And this is what happened with Musgrove. Now, the bullpen stepped up. Pierce Johnson was the only guy to allow a run, and he only allowed 1 run. But the story of this game, other than Marquez's brilliant 7 shutout innings, was the offense could not get anything going. They had 2 runners in scoring position the entire game. And guess who that was? Fan favorite, just kidding, Eric Hosmer. He doubled twice in this game. 2 for 3 is what he finished with the night. Popped out to third in the 5th inning in his second at-bat. The only at-bat he did not get a hit on. Brian O'Grady was called up for this game from AAA. Reese Kinnear sent down. Again, like I said, it was just a spot start, so that's why he was sent down. Manny, in the 4th inning, this was kind of the silver lining in this, I guess, if you want to make one. He was named an all-star finally. In the middle of the 4th inning, they announced it on the Jumbotron. Manny, the teammates definitely gave him knuckles and everything. This was well-deserved. But I think it's kind of embarrassing for Major League Baseball that it took an outfielder, Ronald Acuna Jr., to get hurt, to tear his ACL and be out for the year, for Machado, who's an infielder, not even an outfielder, to replace him and to get into the game. Justin Turner replaced someone, an infielder in this game, before Manny went into the All-Star game, got into the All-Star game. And the only real big stat that Justin Turner of the Dodgers led Manny in was batting average. He was hitting over 300. But as we know, in these days now, batting average doesn't really mean that much, just because of the shift. Manny, anyone that, you can look at the stats all you want and be like, oh, Manny, wow, he wasn't great this year so far. But when you watch every game like I have, you see that a lot of the time Manny hits the ball really hard. Now, he might hit it into the shift, Is that his fault sometimes? Maybe, but that's also a credit to where the defense is. Um, and he does being an all-star shouldn't just be, I know on the all-star vote, they don't display, you know, the defensive statistics and stuff like that. They just display batting average, homers, OPS, slugging, just the, regular offensive stats. So those didn't blow people away compared to Turner. But the fact of the matter is, Manny is arguably the best defensive third baseman in the league with Nolan Arenado. He does things defensively that saves runs, that just the IQ levels off the charts. So he really helps the Padres win games, even when he goes 0 for 4 like he did on Sunday. He makes plays. He does things in the field. He gets a grounder and he sees the guy running from second to third, just who doesn't have as high of an IQ as Manny does, and Manny tags him out to end the inning and get his reliever out of the jam. There's just things with the IQ level, the arm that he has on defense, what he's done in the shift in right field, him diving for balls in the right field corner when Meyer's playing in the right center field gap because of where the defensive alignment has him, where Wayne Kirby tells him to go. He just does things that a lot of people don't do. Justin Turner stands at third base. He might go into the shift, but he's not really in right field and running towards the right field corner and diving for balls. He doesn't have, in my opinion, doesn't have the IQ level that Manny Machado has. So my point is Manny deserves this. There's so many aspects of the game that stats can't show how valuable and how much of an all-star he is. So well-deserved for Manny. 5 all-stars for the Padres. The first time the Padres have had 5 all-stars since 1998. Yes, that's the year that they last went to the World Series. Darvish, he won't play. He was put on the IL on Sunday. I'll get to that. So he made the All-Star team. Fernando Tatis Jr. starting at shortstop. Jake Cronenworth made it. We talked about Manny right now. And then Mark Melancon leads the NL in saves at 27 now. He definitely deserves to be in the All-Star game. Definitely weren't expecting that out of Melancon, going into the year. So definitely a great, great ceremonial first half for Mark Melancon. So like I said, Saturday, Padres lose 3-0. Bard got the save, Musgrove with the loss, Marquez with the win, in front of a sellout, 42,351, just above 3-hour game time. So that's Saturday's game. Padres, they suffered their 39th loss of the season. Moving to Sunday, that would be their 40th loss. Now, the story of this game was Ryan Weathers getting hurt. It was Ryan Weathers against John Gray in this game. John Gray pitched really well, 6 innings, only 1 run, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. Again, Padres offense couldn't get anything going, but let's start with Ryan Weathers. He only went 29 pitches in this game, 2 1/3. In the third inning, there was a little nubber in front of first. I believe it was a bunt. Ryan Weathers picked it up. His momentum was carrying him, at the first baseline. The runner was literally right in front of him. So he went to get the ball, tagged him, and he fell, crumbling in pain. He was holding his knee, his right knee. And, I was there at the ball game. At least I thought, and a lot of people around me thought that the Weathers injury was caused by the collision he had with the runner. But that doesn't seem like the case. You rewatch it on TV, or I rewatched the highlight later, and he kind of caught his cleat stuck in the ground. So that's where the injury happened. Jace Tingler said after the game that Weathers' knee, is fine. He's going to get more tests, so we'll know more tonight, Sunday night, is when he thought. Maybe tomorrow or something like that. Padres will probably have an update. But that was the story. Chris Paddock did also pitch in relief, his first career relief appearance. He goes 2 innings, gives up 1 home run. He looked good the first 2 batters that he faced. And CJ Cron, the veteran first baseman, takes him deep to right field, an opposite field home run. That gave the Rockies, or that tied the game up for the Rockies. They get another run in the 7th, 1 more in the 9th on a Jake Cronenworth error. on him trying to do a double play, tagged a runner going from first to second, and made a bad throw off Hosmer's glove. So an uncharacteristic error from Jake Cronenworth. But again, he's not the reason why the Padres lost. Padres lost because they only recorded 4 hits. Eric Hosmer, um, he was 2 of those hits. 2 hits on Sunday, 2 hits on Saturday. People want to bag him. They can't really bag him offensively what he did this weekend. Um, yet he didn't come up in a bases loaded spot, I think, on Friday. But the Padres ended up winning that game. But for me, I mean, I said on the kind of quick news recap thing that I do on Twitter and Instagram, just saying who won each game and a little tidbit. Tommy Pham 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Fernando Tatis Jr. 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Manny Machado 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. So they combined their 1, 2, and 4 hitters 0 for 12 with 6 strikeouts on the day. Cronenworth tripled in the first and didn't get another hit the rest of the game. Again, just the offense literally just did not show up. Was it a credit to Jon Gray? Perhaps some of it, but I think the Padres would tell you that they should not be getting 4 hit by Jon Gray in the Colorado Rocky bullpen. They didn't get a hit off Jhoulys Chacín, the former Padre opening day starter. That just tells you how far the Padres have gone, to be honest. But Jon Gray, yeah, he was fine. But again, I don't think the Padres would tell you that they should be getting, scoring 1 run off Jon Gray. But anyway, Padres lose this one 3-1. They fall to 53-40. They've now have 67 games remaining after the All-Star break. Again, home run derby on Monday, All-Star game Tuesday. Tatis is going to be starting in that game. Melanson will probably get in that game. Manny will probably get in that game. Cronenworth will probably get in that game. Darvish will not play. So he has already been replaced. It was either Buehler or Scherzer that replaced him. Scherzer might start the game. German Marquez might start the game because it's at home. But 53-40. Now, there's some good in what I've seen the first half from the Padres. In the first half of the Padres, this is their best record in a very long time. In a full season, the first half of the year, this is their best record in a very long time. They are 13 games over 500. I wanted to be like 15 games over 500. You could count to a few games during this first half, just like any team in the league, by the way, that you could have had, but you didn't. There was mistakes, things happened. But I'm overall, I think Padre fans have to be happy where the Padres are right now. Are they in striking distance of the division? Yes, they still are. But with that said, the Giants kept winning. The Padres, they lost 7 of their last 11 going into this All-Star break. And now the bad news is they're 6 games back. So let me get back to the positives real quick. Before I give an overall grade, I'll give the grade right now. I'd give a grade a B. Now you could do B plus. I might say B plus. But at the same time, I think that I'll keep it at a B, because going into the year, the Padres were the second best team in baseball, in my opinion, behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. I gave them a slim chance of winning the division over the Dodgers. We weren't factoring in the San Francisco Giants in the division. And so they definitely have surprised everyone except probably Giants fans. Probably they have surprised some of their Giants fans because the team is just built from a lot of veterans, and veterans get hurt sometimes. They didn't have the star power the Padres and Dodgers have. They didn't have Fernando Tatis Jr. They don't have Mookie Betts. Buster Posey, that year off last year, probably really helped. So going back to the Padres, the reason I give it a B, going into the season, you had high expectations. It was Padres, Dodgers for the division. That might very well end up being the case. But I think the Padres underwhelmed a little bit. Now, the reason that I don't have them having a B plus right now is because of some of the disappointments of the year. Some of it is not staying healthy, whether that's Austin Nola getting hurt, Grisham not being healthy at times, Tatis with the subluxation. That one you can't really do anything about. But so some of it's the injuries. Drew Pomeranz was out a little bit. Um, but most of it is just the disappointment from people that, players that we thought would pitch better, hit better. So just underwhelming performances from guys like Blake Snell, Eric Hosmer a little bit, not as much as fans on Twitter want to say, but Eric Hosmer a little bit, Manny Machado a little bit at the start, Tommy Pham at the start, Will Myers kind of, before this last week. So, starting with Blake Snell. Let's start with Blake Snell. Coming in, he had that great start in the World Series against the Dodgers, former Cy Young. Maybe we put too much expectations on him going into the year. Just because, we thought he was going to give us length. He was going to be this, big strikeout guy, that second ace in the rotation. And the fact of the matter is he hadn't, went long 6 innings in like 2 years. And he finally did that, like against the Rockies, I believe. He's had a few good starts. He had back-to-back, good starts before he, had his start missed against the Reds, I believe. And then obviously going on the IL here. But the fact of the matter, he wasn't consistent. I said it multiple times. He just wasn't, it didn't feel like he was sticking to a game plan. He would, go hard fastballs, 1 inning or 2 innings, and then he'd get off of that game plan, or he just wouldn't attack with the fastball at all. I kind of wish that he would learn from Paddock after he came out the IL, how aggressive Paddock was with the fastball. Blake Snell just didn't do that. He just wasn't consistent enough. And so hopefully, once he comes off of the IL, he can, improve, be more consistent. So that's the start where Blake Snell is for me, just not being consistent enough. That's the same with Chris Paddock, a little bit of disappointment from him. He was great. I was really happy about him coming off the IL. That conversation he had on FaceTime for 4 hours with his brother really helped, just kind of to reset his mind. But the beginning of the year wasn't good. That one start against the Brewers where he gave up 5 runs in 1 inning stands out to me. But again, it was kind of like Blake Snell, just you didn't see the consistency. You saw flashes, but he just didn't do it consistently, excluding that, 4 or 5 start stretch off the IL. Because, the recent few starts he's had, it seemed like it was mental. And he admitted it like 2 starts ago. He let his mind get to him. He caught himself thinking too much on the mound. And so hopefully this All-Star break, he can talk to his brother, Marty Caswell, that I had on a couple episodes ago. You can listen and watch that. She agreed with me, saying that Paddock struggles mostly are mental. He just has to get his mind right and just get back to that mentality that he had in 19, that he had the first few starts after IL, that, I can beat anyone I want to. You're not better than me. My stuff's better than you. I'm here to beat you. Just have that mentality, and I think he's going to find himself to have more success and help his team win. Other disappointments, I mean, obviously you want to point to Eric Hosmer. Eric Hosmer, I'm an Eric Hosmer supporter. I think deep down fans are, obviously. They want all the players to do well. But, coming when he signed this contract, you're getting the Eric Hosmer from Kansas City, who, won the World Series, won the All-Star Game MVP at Petco. He had good history at Petco, and he just has not shown that Kansas City self with the Padres. Now, were Padres fans a little bit delusional to think that Hosmer was going to be the Kansas City version of Eric Hosmer when he's, in his 30s now? And obviously he's not really in his, meat of his prime anymore. yeah, I think they were kind of delusional to think that this guy was going to be, Adrian Gonzalez, when Adrian Gonzalez was in his prime, right? Um, thinking that he was going to be kind of the savior, and he really wasn't. Now, he only has 7 homers this year, 41 RBIs. Tatis and Manny have like 20 more than he does. A 266 average, but again, average doesn't really matter that much anymore. Again, I'm not trying to say that I don't want to come off as saying that Eric Hosmer, oh, you shouldn't be worried. He's doing fine, whatever. No, you can be worried. You can be disappointed in him because of the big name he is, because of the $144 million that he's earning from the Padres, from the money that he's going to continue to earn because he's not opting out of that contract. You can be mad that he's not earning his paycheck per se. His defense hasn't been great like it was in Kansas City. But at the same time, I think fans are being a little bit unfair. I don't think, every time that he strikes out or he doesn't come through with bases loaded in the first inning or something, fans, want to bash him. I've seen fans on Twitter saying, like something to the effect of Eric Hosmer on the on deck circle, disgusts me and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, guys. You guys are fans. You guys are supposed to try to support the guy. You know, if Manny was doing this, you guys wouldn't be doing it. If Tatis was doing it, you guys wouldn't be doing it. And they're making double what Hosmer's making. Now, again, Hosmer's struggling. He hasn't lived up to the contract yet. But I think people forget, or they just choose to disregard what Eric Hosmer can do with runners in scoring position, late in games, what he's done this year against the Dodgers, what he's done in the clutch this year. Sunday Night Baseball, that big comeback they had down like 7-1. He's the one that had the sac fly to bring in the go-ahead run. First series at Petco Park. Friday night, they did lose this game in 12 innings. Corey Seager at that home run, Jake Cronenworth ended pitching, blah, blah, blah. Musgrove played left. Hosmer came through with the game-tying run to send it to extras to even give the Padres a chance to win. You go to Sunday. He comes through with the game-tying RBI. Then he gets the go-ahead, ended up being the game-winning RBI on the RBI single up the middle before Pham gave insurance. This guy comes up in the clutch. I haven't even mentioned the Cincinnati game. Everyone's going to remember it for Victor Caratini, but Eric Hosmer is the one that tied the game with the 2-run home run when after Melanson gave up 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning, and everyone was like, okay, this game's over. Tatis isn't even due up. The game's over. So I think fans, okay, you can bash them. You're fans for a reason. You're emotional. I get emotional sometimes about players, not doing as well as I hope. But I think it's good to have just remember that the Padres, I think they know what they have in Hosmer. I think they know that, yeah, maybe they overpaid, but they probably had to overpay to make sure that he signed here instead of Boston or back in Kansas City or whatever. And I think they realized that Hosmer is just the time that he's the most valuable is when the game matters most. In October, he's probably going to perform and fans are going to shut up. So that's my thoughts on Hosmer. Yes. The reason why I know that took a long time, but the reason with the B+ grade I have is yes, the Padres are 13 games over 500. They're in the postseason spot right now. They're still in kind of length, of reach with the division. They're 6 games back. The Dodgers are in front of them. Padres sit in 3rd place, but I don't give them, instead of a B+, I'm going to give them a B. Instead of an A, I'm going to give them a B, just because there's players on this team that I expected to play better that haven't. There's been injuries that have happened that have kind of, you don't want to blame injuries and make that too much into the grade, but at the same time, injuries still affect the team and they affect the performance of the team. So I'm going to have to I'm going to put it at a B. And I think the trade deadline coming up will be very, very important for the Padres because they have, like I mentioned, they have 2 of their 5 starters healthy. Darvish placed on the IL today, left hip inflammation. His start will be pushed back to Atlanta instead of Washington coming out of the All-Star break. He's not going to travel to the All-Star game in Colorado anymore, instead to get treatment. Um, he's not healthy. Blake Snell, he's on the IL. He's not healthy right now. Ryan Weathers, obviously, we don't know really the status of him with his knee and his foot. He's not healthy right now. Dinelson Lamet, he's not healthy right now. He's on the IL. So that leaves Paddock and Musgrove as your only 2 healthy starters right now. And that's concerning, I think, if you're the front office right now, because Mackenzie Gore, who you may have been counting on to come up later in the season, he is definitely not coming up. He's not going to see anywhere near the big leagues unless he really turns it around quickly or injuries force that. And you don't know, Lamet just hasn't been able to stay healthy this year. I'm not concerned about Darvish, but still, he's not healthy. And Chris Paddock, one of the 2 starters that is healthy, again, he hasn't been consistent this year. Joe Musgrove, he's been consistent this year, but he's had to grind through starts. And you don't want to put all that pressure on him in his first year in a Padre uniform and when he's had to grind through starts as of late. So the rotation, I would say, is a little bit of a concern. MLB Central and MLB Network does a worried or whatever segment. I'd be more on the worried side than whatever, just because the rotation looks kind of thin right now. Now, out of the All-Star break, Lamet could come, be healthy. Darvish, could come out of this healthy. He's looking to start the Atlanta start. Blake Snell could come out of this healthy. Tingler has him starting one of those Washington games. So it could look a lot better out of the All-Star break. But presently, as of right now, I'm sorry, but you have to be at least a little bit concerned about the depth of this rotation and not, putting too much pressure on the bullpen, who's already had to put together a lot of innings. They've had a big workload. And so props to them. They're a big reason why the Padres are where they are right now. So again, props to them, the bullpen, props to Darvish, what he's done most of this year, props to Musgrove with the no-hitter, and props to, Chris Paddock for those few starts he had off of the IL. Props to Ryan Weathers for how he started this year. His starts against the Dodgers, he pitched really well, and he attacks. So I can't wait to keep watching him, and hopefully everything is all right, long term with that knee and that foot. Now, player of the series for this series, for the Padres, it's really hard, to be honest, to say a player of the series just because they didn't win the series, obviously. You want to go to the win that they had. Will Myers came through with that big RBI. I'll go Manny Machado. He had that insurance run in the first game. I know he went 0 for 4 on Saturday and then Sunday. But I think it's cool that he finally made the All-Star game. That's not fair to him to put it MVP of the series. I'll give the MVP of the series to the bullpen just because of how they showed up. In the first game of the series, they go, what is that? 5 1/3 scoreless innings after Reese Kinnear. Second game, they give up 1 run in 7 innings. Excuse me, not 7 innings. In 4 2/3 innings. And then they give up only 2 runs in the series finale. They had to work, including Chris Paddock, obviously, his first career relief appearance. They had to come in earlier than expected because of the Ryan Weathers injury. So I'll give it to them, because I don't want to give it to anyone in the offense because no one really showed up. You can't really do that. So, and I don't want to give it to Hosmer because then everyone's going to get mad at me on Twitter. Oh, why are you giving it to Hosmer? And he didn't drive in anyone on Saturday and Sunday. He just put himself into scoring position, and no one wants to talk about that. They just want to keep bashing him. But he put himself into scoring position a lot of times on Saturday, Sunday, and no one was able to drive him in. So again, 53 and 40. They have 67 games left. They have a good road trip out of the All-Star break. Atlanta, Washington is included in that road trip. Props to the coaching staff. Props to Jace Tingler. I think he's done a pretty dang good job so far in the ceremonial first half of the season. Um, there's been some times where he's made questionable managerial decisions, but that's kind of a front office thing now. The manager doesn't. It's not like Buck Showalter where he can just do whatever he wants now. It's more of a collaborative effort. So, but again, pretty much good overall job, I think, by Tingler. Obviously, he's led this team 13 games over 500. He had to deal with that COVID kind of outbreak where Myers and Tatis and Hosmer and Profar and Mateo, they all were out for a good period of time. So, Tucupita Marcano and Brian Grady had to come up, and they ended up going 9-1 on that homestand. They beat the Cardinals in that series. That was a series. Tatis came back against Colorado and then Seattle. Hits 2 homers in that series finale on Sunday, including a grand slam in, I think, the 8th. There's just been bright moments this year. Obviously, the Musgrove no-hitter. But, again, good job by the coaching staff, I think. The bullpen has been great. Fernando Tatis Jr. is obviously the team MVP so far. 28 dingers. He's on pace for over 50, obviously. Manny's played really well after kind of starting slow. Jake Cronenworth has definitely deserved to be an all-star. He's definitely in that 3 spot for a while. Tommy Pham has picked it up after a really slow start. Will Myers has sort of picked it up. Victor Caratini is going to be one of the unsung heroes of this first half of the season because Austin Nola has just not been healthy, and Caratini was coming into the season as a backup catcher, and now he's definitely shouldered more load than he probably would have if Nola would have been healthy, obviously. He caught the Musgrove no-hitter. He's caught a lot of good starts. Him and Darvish have great chemistry. So good job out of him. Ha-Seong Kim has been good, off the bench. Webster Rivas hasn't been terrible. Luis Campusano played in the Futures game, by the way. He didn't look great when he came up to the Padres this year, but he's looked better. His approach at the plate looks better. It looks like he's refined his load in the box. So hopefully, we'll see him at some point. And then obviously, like I mentioned, the bullpen again. Daniel Camarena with the pinch hit grand slam this last homestand. I think it was a good first half of the season. It could have been better, and I'm saying that because Snell should have pitched better. Paddock should have been more consistent. Hosmer should have probably hit better and been better defensively. Injuries, sometimes you can't obviously script that. You never are planning for these injuries and all that. But all in all, I think it's a pretty good first half. Again, Padres 53-40, 67 games left, 6 games back in the division. They are in the playoffs if the season ended today, but it does not end today. So that's pretty much the episode. Again, if you have any mailbag questions, let me know. Braden Surprenant is scheduled to join me tomorrow. He does pregame, postgame stuff for 97.3 The Fan, producer for the John Quintero show. He'll join me to kind of give his thoughts on the first half of the year. And any thoughts that you have, let us know at Talking Friars on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Let us know your thoughts, what you would grade this ceremonial first half of the season. And until next episode, that's it. Let's go Padres.